So I'll invite Takeyuki Okubo to turn on his camera. Thank you so much. I'll just do a brief introduction. So Takeyuki graduated from the Faculty Department of Architecture in 1991 and entered in the Graduate School of Kyoto University. He became an associate professor at Kyoto University in 2022 and a professor at the Graduate School of College and Science and Engineering, Ritsumeikan University, sorry about that, in 2007, and the director of the Institute of Disaster Mitigation for Urban Cultural Heritage from 2013 to 2021 fiscal year. He is also a member of ICORP, board member of JPICMOS and ICOMOS International. His background is in civil engineering, architecture, and global environmental engineering, which informs his current research interests in urban design for disaster mitigation and architectural designs, which promote the utilization of traditional knowledge and environment. And his presentation today is Kyoto, City Preparedness for Earthquakes. Over to you. Thank you.
And today I'd like to talk about, of course, this session is talk for the response, but today, my specialty is civil engineer and also the architecture. So as that, I'd like to talk about the preparedness for the city scale, especially against the earthquakes and the fires. And at first, I would like to introduce my institution. So I named the Institute of Disaster Mitigation for Urban Cultural Heritage. So it means RDMAT. To prepare for the risk management, we need a research field, disaster and disaster mitigation. But in the same times, we should learn and study about the value of cultural heritage. So as that, we also need a resource from the conservation of cultural heritage field. And so as that, we try to make the overlapped field as our target for increase the safety against disasters, and in the same times, the usability without damaging non-recoverable cultural value for future. Through these activities, we try to make the project in the actual field, such as in Kyoto, Japan. And so here is photos of our target sites. So maybe you know in the case of the Kyoto city, is a very important city as a historic district in Japan. And our target site includes a Kiyomizu-dera temple. It's also designated as a World Cultural Heritage. And the site is located at the foot of the mountain. And we have so many steep slopes named Saka in Japanese. And the Sannen Zaka and the Ninen Zaka is a very famous tourist spot. And we have so many naked wooden historical buildings and very steep slope with narrow widths and stairs. And because of that, it can be a very attractive and important historic district. But from the viewpoint of the risk management, it should be very, very dangerous because even in the daily basis, no fire engines and ambulance and the emergency services can not go inside. But in the same time, we should keep this cultural value in the same time. So as that we cannot make those, change those historical buildings in reinforced concrete buildings or steel structure and so on. And we cannot make the road wider because we should keep the important cultural value in the same time. So as that those kind of the challenges should be solved. And so you can see there's so many important cultural heritage buildings, such as the 5-story pagoda in Yasaka, and Ishibe-Koji district, which has a very narrow street. Sometimes the width is within 2 meters, so very narrow, but it has a very good atmosphere for history cultures. And also we have so many museums which have the very important artifacts and documents and so on. So maybe most of you as a participant today should be the who have the interested in the how to save the cultural fairs and also the such kind of the buildings and the museums and artifacts. And so that in the case of this target district, we have also so many museums and art galleries within the historic buildings like this. And here, this slide shows the risk of earthquake in Kyoto. And this Kyoto city is shaped as a basin surrounded by the mountains. And in the ancient times, those mountains was made by the earthquake in our history. And this Hanaure active fault is the most dangerous fault to make the possible serious earthquakes in near future. And maybe, you know, the most of the earthquake is occurred in periodic times. And in the case of Kyoto, we had a very big earthquake in 1830. And in the case of Japan, so in most cases, we have every 100 years or 150 years to hit by the big earthquake. But in this case, we already have the blank more than 192 years. So that we should think about more seriously to how to prepare for the next big one. And so these photos are taken in a Kobe earthquake in 1995. In the case of the serious earthquake, maybe most of the local old historical buildings can be broken because of the earthquake shock, and maybe narrow streets can be blocked very easily. And in most cases, after the earthquake, we have so many fires in short times. It's a kind of the character of the post-earthquake fires. And in such cases, unfortunately, maybe most of the city water network services can be damaged. And because of that, most of the fire hydrant can be used. And of course, after the earthquake, we will have the multiple and simultaneous outbreaks like these photos, so that we should think about how to prepare for this serious disasters. And for making the disaster mitigation plan for this kind of the district with local people, it should be indispensable to include the viewpoint and the opinions of the local communities for this kind of the risk management plan. Because in the scene of the serious disasters, maybe no public services such as fire department or ambulance and so on cannot go inside. So as that was the first step to build this kind of the risk management project, we start from the workshop with local people to understand the risk and the potency from the viewpoint of the local people. This is one of the example of the workshop. We prepare the very big scale white-colored map and discuss about the possible risk and with the scenario of disasters. And in the same times, we share the possible risk from the viewpoint of the local people, and in the same time, sometimes we can find some possible solutions using the local people's potency and resources. I'm sorry, today we don't have enough time, so if you have interest in this kind of the workshop, please visit our website. And so, for example, this is one example held in the disaster imagination game held in this target site. And through this process, this guide is a master monk of Kodaiji temples, and he decided in this time, okay, so we understand we have no space for the evacuation for the local people and the tourists. So as that, I will open my Japanese garden for evacuees in a scene of the emergency situation. So such kind of the possible solution could be produced by the participant of this kind of the workshop. And now, so we understand that it is not possible to rely entirely on governmental or public responses in a disaster. So we need an interruptible environmental water supply system, which can provide the water in spite of the city water network damage, and in the, which is rooted in the area, and also the firefighting power or community empowerment should be indispensable. And this shows a map of the, our project, a target site of our project. And this project is developed by the Kyoto City Fire Department. And also the national government support us to complete this project. And so the whole area is divided by the natural fire barrier, maybe. So in the north end, we have a very big open park in the north. And the south end is divided by the cemetery. In the case of Japan, so cemetery doesn't have any flammable material, so that it can be a natural fire barrier. And east side is occupied by the mountain, and the west side is divided by the wide road, which have the 4 lanes of road. And we start this project from the center in 2006. And this is a cut image of the first water resources. This is a rainwater, huge scale rainwater system, which can collect the rainwater around 1,500 cubic meters in underground. And so, of course, it needs some pumping system to make the pressurized water to distribute this water resources to the surrounding area. And this is photos in under construction. So we made a very big water system which has a performance for shockproof performance to survive the earthquake, of course. And so after we make this systems, upper side is covered by the soil, and repair for the a small park, which can be used for the emergency evacuation space for the local people. And we equip the diesel engine for pressurized to the water. And the exterior of this diesel engine is should be designed as a traditional building to make a harmonization with the historic atmosphere around here. And this shows a network image of the network of water distributions. We use anti-seismic pipe made by the polyethylene, because the So in usual case, we use a steel pipe network for city water network. But in the case of the serious earthquake, sometimes it make a kind of the problems. So as that we need some elasticity to keep the safety of the water network itself. And so that we use polyethylene these times. And we equip hydrants for fire person, public fire hydrants, of course. But in the case of Japan, maybe not only Japan, so this kind of the public hydrant is designed just for the well-trained fire person. So as that sometimes it is very dangerous to use it by the local people or citizens. And so that we try to design the more easy to use hydrant, named the citizens hydrant, for a quick response by the local people. Yeah, this is a shockproof pipeline made by the polyethylene. And but this is a city hydrant for local peoples, and the exterior is covered by the wooden materials because we should make the design to be harmonized with historical atmosphere around here. And the inside is very simple, so the local people can easy to read this hose and just open the tap, and they can start a quick response for the small fires. And this is the scene of the fire drills held in 2008, and even for the housewives and elder person can operate it very easily. And so unfortunately, we don't have enough space to equip this kind of the citizens fire hydrant. And so as that we ask to the each of the local people to rent us a space for equip this kind of the citizens hydrant. And the feature of this hydrant is we ask them, the local people, to use this easy hydrant, not only for the disasters, but also for the daily basis. So they can use this water systems for feeding water to the green or washing their car or dog or cat. It's free because the water resource is just rainwater. So that we ask them to use it in a daily basis. Then so they understand, everybody can understand how to use it without any drills from the daily basis. So it is very important point, we believe, to design this kind of the equipment to be utilized by the local people. So we call this kind of the way of thinking is phase-free. So use it in daily basis, then so they can use it in an emergency situation. And this is an image of the second rainwater systems. The first system is just one, so that we need a backup system. And very fortunately, we found the space in a Kiyomizu temple designated, the site is designated as a World Cultural Heritage. But the location of the Kiyomizu temple is in a higher elevation than the target city area. So here is a map of the Kiyomizu temples, and we very fortunately we can equip this second large system in a mountainside, and so that we can use the gravity for the for the pressurized water. So as that we connect to this second system with the first systems, and so as that if the pumping system get damaged, maybe so we can easy to use this gravity systems. And if the mountainside is get damaged because of the earthquake, maybe we can use the artificial pumping systems in a field. And this is an image of the firefighting activities. The first phase, the local people try to use this citizens' hydrant systems. And if the firefighting is failed, maybe it moved to the second phase, and in the second phase, professional firefighter can use this equipment for professional firefightings. And unfortunately, if the second phase is failed in the end, maybe the fire moved to the spreading fire. So as that in the case of the spreading fire, even for the professional firefighters cannot stay in a site because of the quite high temperature. So as that, we try to develop the another systems to name the water shield systems. So I'm sorry, this photo, this slide is only written in Japanese, but so we try to design the special nozzles to spray the water to the vertical wooden facade of buildings. So maybe you know the water can evaporate around 100 degrees. So that if we can spray the water during the spreading fire, then the limited water can be used for keep the temperature on the wooden facade within 100 degrees.
And so Takeyuki, I am sorry to interrupt you, but we're starting to run out of time for our next speaker to begin.
Okay. Thank you. So this is a whole systems, and so we try to make this water systems around the Hokanji as a test case. Yeah, this is a image, and so this is a development plan until 2011. So because of the limitation of the fund, so we only complete the backbone of these systems. And for future, of course, we should expand this water distribution network to the whole of the site. And of course, in this case, we have only the rainwater to be utilized for the fire control. But you know, in the most historical cities or historic district, maybe so you have the natural water resources for in a history, so that if we can revive those potential of existing natural water resources in historic cities, then so it can be used for the emergency situation, such as post-earthquake fire. And in a daily basis, it can be make the environment more natural and historically. So thank you so much for your listening. So if you have interested in this kind of the project, and please find the information from this QR code. Thank you so much for your attention.
Stéphane, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And let me just take one quick moment, Stéphane, to introduce you.
Yeah.
Stéphane is the fire officer in charge of cultural heritage damages and crisis in Yvelines County and the French National Crisis Control Room. He is fire project manager at Chateau Versailles and a teacher at the National Fire Officers School for Operations concerning cultural heritage crises. Stéphane earned his PhD in medieval history and canon law at the Sorbonne and is a museology graduate of the Louvre School. And Stéphane's presentation today is After the Notre Dame Fire and New Patrimonial Disasters, a New Way of Action and Safety Protection Amenities. Stéphane, it is great to see you, and the virtual floor is yours.
So I will speak to you about what happened since the Notre Dame fire and the new reflection we had in France with different teams. As previously, we were completely separate from each district, and now we have a common reflection, and we try to settle new equipments and new way of saving the cultural heritage patrimonial buildings and works of art in case of a major disaster. Next. Yes. Sorry, that's my name again. Sorry, next again. So I will speak you for a few moments, as we have just only 20 minutes approximately. The building amenities we placed in France, most especially in Notre Dame, but also in the Palace of Versailles before Notre Dame, as Notre Dame, the Notre Dame team for the reconstruction came in Versailles to see what we settled before, as we were in advance in Versailles to protect the cultural heritage buildings. We had also new appropriate equipments and documents we elaborated since few years, of course, more after the disaster of Notre Dame in 2019. And now we have specific trainings. This is very new everywhere in France. We have a new way of training between firefighters and curators. This is very new, as we are mixing experience and curators now allowing to touch real works of art in a museum during the trainings. Next. Then, yes, thank you. So that's exactly what I said you in introduction when I spoke just a few moments ago, that after Notre Dame, a lot of reflection appeared, and now we have a lot of meetings in France, everywhere in France, not only with me, but with a lot of firefighters officers. I train there, I teach them, and now we have a specific teaching in National School of French Officer for the firefighters. Next. For the building amenities, in fact, for the old buildings, for the whole cultural heritage buildings, we understood that a lot of time we have a full long building without any separation, most especially down the roofs. As you could see on the left photo, it was the forest of Notre Dame. And as you could see in the middle, in the photo in the middle, the fire appeared in the center of the roofs of the cathedral, and as nothing was separate, everything burnt, and the fire was everywhere in less than half an hour. Of course, as you could see on the TV, the fire, the time of the fire was hours and hours, but the full fire for the whole roofs was approximately in less than 1 hour, because no separation. You could see on the right photo a church which burned last September in the north of France, and you could see that there were no separation, and all the roofs burnt, and the ceiling partly fell. This is not a stone ceiling. This is a plaster ceiling, which is on a wood upper ceiling, and everything burnt and fall down in the middle of the church. And you have no separate parts, just up of the ceiling. Next. New way of buildings, of construction, were elaborated a long time ago, because Notre Dame is not the first French cathedral which burnt after the medieval time. The first one is on the right photo. This is the Chartres Cathedral, one of the major French cathedrals of the 13th, on the same time than Notre Dame, 12th and 13th century. The roofs and the ceiling burnt at the end of the 19th century, and everything was reconstructed in cast iron. You could place next, because I think I have a legend. Yes. You have a metal structure with cast iron and steel made at the end of the 19th century. So the new material was placed 1 century ago. So nothing could burn again. On the left side, you have the Reims Cathedral vault, which is the coronation of the French king's cathedral. It was damaged during the First World War, and it was reconstructed after 1919 with a new material at that time, which was a reinforced concrete And you could see that there is no separation, but this is a full volume for the both, but the material could not burn. It was a question for Notre Dame. Do we reconstruct the roofs with wood or with a new material like metal or reinforced concrete? You will see the answer in the next screen. As you could see on the left, this is the elaboration to protect the roofs of Notre Dame, because the new roof is just finished since few weeks, and the architects decided to have a reconstruction as it was before the fire, first with a wood structure, secondly with no separation. So they tried to find a mid solution. As you could see on the right photo, a part of the roof structure is not in wood. This is in steel. The center part, before and after the transept, is not a real separation, but the structure makes a separation itself, as the material are different, and of course, steel could not burn. So in case of fire in the first or the last part of the cathedral, when the fire is arriving in the middle part, it will not stop, but the firefighters would have more time to stop the fire. The second thing, which was previewed, is the mist system. You could see at the top on the photo of the map on the left photo, and the empty pipes. You will see it on the next screen. As you could see on the left photo, Notre Dame roofs now are fully equipped. We fully placed a misting system. Normally, this is a system which was created for submarines and boats. Only one society has a process, but we settle it in Palace of Versailles on the basement of the Royal Opera House, which is all in wood of the 18th century. And Notre Dame placed exactly the same system. You see the empty pipes everywhere in the roof. In case of fire detection, the water is joining the pipes, which are empty during the normal time, and you have heads which will check water, but not like I'm sorry, I lost the word. Not like sprinkler, but not a lot of water, just a little part of water to stop the balance between the fire, the wood, and everything will burn slowly. We placed also dry risers. You see it on the right side in Versailles Palace. We placed it in the historical walls since more than 10 years. So the national architects accepted to settle such new process. It's very new, and it's made just inside of the historical walls. It's a very new way of feeling for the architects to accept to place such an equipment in a historical building. Of course, the pipes are fully empty. Next one. Thank you. And of course, we have the fire detection. For Notre Dame on the left, you could see cameras. This is a mix of detection and cameras, because you see two eyes. One is to see if you have a hot atmosphere, and one is to see what happened really, a normal camera, which is joined with the security control room. In the Versailles Palace, we settle different kinds of fire detection. You could see the common one on the left low photo. We could not place for historical building everything everywhere, as we have historical structures. You could see the ceiling of the royal dining room, we could not place everything in the gilded part, but we place a head of detection. And in the Royal Library of Louis XVI, in the middle, we placed specific X-ray detection, because this is a full volume. You have the origin of the X-ray on the photo in the middle, and you have a mirror at the opposite. And when the X-ray machine is cut by smoke, of course, a detection is appearing. On the right photo, perhaps you could see on the corner, just on the corner of the gilded lower part, just up of the painting, on the right of the painting, you could see a black point. This is a very specific system, very expensive one, but which is absolutely the respect of historical structure. You have a specific detection, which is analyzing the air and the atmosphere of the room. That's the most expensive one, but this is the best respect of the historical structure. Next one. For the new appropriate equipment and documents, I spoke about it last time when I joined the Smithsonian Institute conferences on the first part of the year. But we have priority plans. Sorry, I forgot the S. Priority plans of different level. When you have several floors, we have a specific book with a different floor with the you see on the plan on the left part of the left photo the different white circle with numbers. This is a different priority for each room, and on the right side you see the different part of one page for one work. I place you two works of art, but normally you have the back and the front and the reverse. And for the firefighters, it's very efficient, as we only have to follow what we see on the page without reading anything. And we can manage the transport exactly as we have it, on the photo. Next one. When we have a small collection, perhaps only one floor, most especially for the churches, on the top left photo, you have only one church with 3 works of art. You could see only 2 people for 2 works of art, 4 people for the biggest one, and after you will have a photo as the one in the middle for each work of art. So 3 sheets of paper, to show the works of art. In front, for the front part, you have the photo, the size, the weight, and on the reverse, you have the photo on the back left. This is the way of joining the works of art from the entrance to the place where is the work of art. On the right photo, this is the biggest church with 16 works of art. This is exactly the same, with everything on the same sheet of paper, and you have 16 separate papers for each works of art, and you could see everything is on the same place, on the same paper. The next one. Sorry. Now we try to find also specific and dedicated means to protect the works of art on the site without any transport, and to transport it. This is the 3 photos on the left, top, back, and center. At the top left, you have a part of a truck which will contain what you have at the back left photo, specific objects to carry works of art in case of fire, if we have to transport it out of the building. And you can place the works of art inside of the part of the truck at end, which will be the most protected part outside of the building. On the right photo, you have a robot. You cannot probably see it at the top of the photo. You have this very famous robot, which act during the Notre Dame fire. This is Notre Dame fire photo because the firefighters need to be under protection, and we could not tell to a man to be under a big danger, a big risk when the fire is appearing. On the right back photo, you have a very specific scale. The height is more than 46 meters, and it could check water at the top of the big and high building. This is a new scale. You could raise until 70, 80 meters high. I think in Jordania, they have one of 100 meters high, but this is for chemical sites, not for historical sites. Next one, please. And now we have specific trainings. This is very new, but there is no less than 1 month everywhere in France now where the firefighters teams are training in cathedral, in museum. And as you could see in the middle, the firefighters is carrying a real vase, not a very expensive and a very historical one. We didn't say it, but he thought he was carrying a real one, because we have to cut the dream of a nightmare, in fact, for firefighters, that a work of art is impossible to carry because it's unvaluable. Of course, we need to carry it in case of problem. And you could see that when we cannot carry it, on the left photo, we have to cover, this is a wood altar of the 18th century in a French cathedral. You have to cover it. And after the training, sometimes, unfortunately, we have the reality. This is the right photo. This is another church in the north of France again, end of September again, 2 churches burnt at the same time in France. And look at the firefighters. They are carrying a cross with the Christ of the 18th century after the full burning of the church, and they are carrying it outside because smokes and bad atmospheres, and you have no roofs. It was raining at that time, so we need to carry it really, even if the fire is finished, to protect the works of art. Next. So I hope I was in the good time, Samantha. I think the deal is correct. If you have the questions, I saw that you will see everything on the screen, and Samantha will tell it to me too. I thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Stéphane, and thank you so much for sharing about all the work that you and so many others have done. We really appreciate it. And please stay online, because we will go to Q&A with the questions that have been submitted for you right after the next presentation.
Okay.
Wonderful. And so moving on, we're going to welcome Constance Domenech de Cellès. Constance joined the German Archaeological Institute in 2021 as a research associate for the project KulturGutRetter, a worldwide deployable emergency mechanism for cultural heritage in crisis, a little tongue-tied. She is responsible for researching best practices and international standards in the field of emergency response for cultural heritage and for building partnerships, for example, with the European project ProCulturNet 2. Constance has a BA in archaeology and a master's in ancient history from the Sorbonne. She earned these before earning another master's at the Cellès Sorbonne School of Communication. She specializes in developing partnerships and projects for cultural institutions and nonprofit organizations. And her presentation today is KulturGutRetter, Building the CHRU as a German International Response Unit for Cultural Heritage After Disasters. Constance, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and sorry about all the difficult names and acronyms to pronounce. So I'm going to share my screen. So yes, here. Please let me know if it works. Yeah. Can you see it? Good. Okay, perfect. Wait, I'm just going to reduce this. Okay, so yes, I'm going to talk about the project called KulturGutRetter, or Cultural Heritage Responders, we could translate it in English, I guess, which is currently developing a Cultural Heritage Response Unit. We call it the CRU. So I just have to underline, it's still a project. We are not ready and deployable yet, but we hope to be ready somewhere in 2025. So our goal here is to develop and maintain capacities in Germany to provide first aid to cultural heritage in the event of a crisis anywhere in the world and within the framework of international disaster relief. So for this, we embed cultural heritage experts directly into a technical humanitarian mission in order to protect both movable and immovable heritage. So I'm going to present the project today in three parts. First, how we designed this integrated unit with both cultural heritage and civil protection experts. Then the equipments and procedures that we are designing to make sure that everything is working and we have what we need once we are in operations. And I will finish by sharing a few examples and milestones of that we have reached recently, especially through a full-scale exercise to test our mechanism. So let's start with a quick background history for the project KulturGutRetter. So the idea to build a response unit for cultural heritage started in 2019 in Germany when there were discussions between actors from the cultural heritage sector and the civil protection sector. And it was identified that there was no mechanism in place to act immediately in disaster. So at the German Archaeological Institute, we already had projects in prevention for cultural heritage, also in preparedness. We even carried out projects for recovery in Syria, for example, but there was nothing to really respond at the height of a crisis. So our specificity in this project is really that we are bringing two worlds together from the beginning. On the one side, we have two partners coming from the cultural heritage sector, so the German Archaeological Institute, or DAI, and the Leibniz Center for Archaeology, or LICA. And on the other hand, we have one partner from the civil protection sector, which is the Federal Agency for Technical Relief, or THW. So what we did with those three partners is that we divided the building blocks of the projects depending on each partner's expertise. So the central coordination and the project management is with the German Archaeological Institute, as well as everything that has to do with immovable cultural heritage. That is because the project is seated within the division of building archaeology at the DAI. Our IT department is also involved, developing software, data management system, and the whole data infrastructure for the project. On the other hand, the expertise for movable heritage is with LICA because they are specialized in restoration for cultural heritage. And the THW is responsible for everything that has to do with deployment and logistics issue because they are used to intervening abroad for international disaster relief. And just to finish about the partners of the project, I just wanted to mention that we are funded by the Federal Office of Foreign Affairs and the German Parliament. So drawing on the expertise of each partner, this is how we have structured our unit. So once again, it's a unit that is designed to intervene abroad, not in Germany, but really anywhere in the world within disaster relief. And so we have drawn on the expertise of each partner to really integrate cultural heritage experts and civil protection experts into one team. So the structure is based on how teams are designed by the THW for international disaster relief, and we embedded two units dedicated to cultural heritage. So you can see them here at the bottom, circled in red. One is dedicated to movable heritage and the other one to immovable heritage. And every time, so what you see in dark blue are really the civil protection experts, and then the other ones in brownish. Most of them are the cultural heritage experts. So this team, to give you an idea, is about 40 people. This is for the core team, and then it can be scaled up if needed, depending on the size of the operation, about up to 90 people, including local support. So what we started doing is in March this year, we recruited volunteers, or we started our first round of recruitment for volunteers by using or with the help of our network of institutional partners in Germany. And our goal was to recruit really volunteers to be part of the team with a very, very wide expertise. So for the civil protection side, the THW is providing experts who are being trained to handle cultural heritage. So they already have the civil protection expertise, and now we are training them a bit, as we saw just before with the firefighters, how to handle cultural heritage. And on the cultural heritage sites, we are recruiting experts with really various backgrounds and specialization, because our goal is to be able to cover any type of heritage, any type of material, any type of period, really any type of movable cultural heritage or built heritage that is undergoing a crisis. And for these experts, we are teaching them the basics of interventions in the disaster zones. So we find several types of profiles and missions that our volunteers can apply to, either documentation, assessment, conservation, salvage, and IT. And on top of that, we have designed a training program to really bring everyone on the same page, because it's not easy to, it's easy to have it on paper, to have this mixed team, but then when you have to have them together on the ground, it's getting more complicated. So we really want to establish common procedures and a common language. So the first step for everyone was to take an online session that had to be completed by both sides, and to learn the basics of the project and of our procedures. And then we moved on to an in-person training. We called it a station trainings, because they were like the volunteers testing the different parts of the project. So for example, the part for documentation, for assessment, for evacuation, for conservation, for immovable heritage, movable heritage, testing also the IT, how to work with the tablets, this kind of things. So here in the pictures, you can see two types of volunteers. So the one dressed in dark blue with the yellow straps at the legs are the civil protection experts, and the other one with the vests, the light blue vests, are the cultural heritage experts. So you can see they are always working together in a really coordinated way. So really the goal of this training was to familiarize the volunteers with our equipment and to encourage team building between the two worlds. And our training phase culminated in September with a full-scale exercise that I will present in a few moments. So this was our team. And so now how will we deploy this team? How will we intervene? So we really function on the model of international disaster relief. That means that when a disaster strikes, an affected state will make a request for international assistance. And of course, this usually always concerns human life first. But in a second phase, it's possible to ask for assistance for cultural heritage. So this is where we would step in. Probably most of the time through the European Union. So in the EU, the requests for assistance are processed through the Union Civil Protection Mechanism, or UCPM, where member states can register what we call modules in advance. And when there is an emergency, the EU checks if the module is available and it is proposed to the affected country. So here, Germany would be able to offer the crew or the Cultural Heritage Response Unit within 4 days after the acceptance of the offer, and to be deployed for a minimum of 10 days. So this is most of the time how we would be deployed. We are also thinking it could also be bilaterally, but it really has to be from the state level. So it will be Germany offering assistance to another country. This is how it will function. So now moving on to the second part about the equipment and minimal standard procedures that we are developing to really carry out this response mission for cultural heritage. So the first thing we have is a robust, dedicated digital infrastructure for all the phases of the crew response mission. So that means for the preparation, for when we are in the field, and for the post-operation processing. So the goal here is to really develop a structured data package that can be handed over to the country or the institution concerned at the end of the mission. And those data have to be compatible with existing structures and be further processed. So here you have an example of what we could do in the run-up to an operation, so before being deployed. So the goal is to gather all the available information and to include them in a GIS project with photos, videos, satellite images, data on the condition of the site. So everything that concerns site plans, collection inventories can also be uploaded on a mobile device and then be given to the experts who will be deployed on site so that they have minimal documentation before moving in. So here you have an example of like a test map that we made after the earthquake in Morocco. So we were not actually active on site, but we used the situation to test what we were able to do. So with our remote sensing team. And we had information like a layer of cultural heritage assets in Marrakesh, and then we had another layer of the affected areas. And thanks to the EU service Copernicus, we were able to design this kind of map to see where the priority areas would be for interventions. Then when our experts are on site, so they are always equipped with those mobile devices, and they can collect their own information to add on to the information that they had when they arrived. So here we use open source softwares that we specially adapted for the case of cultural heritage. So we use IDI Field, which is a software that was originally developed at the German Archaeological Institute for archaeological excavations, but we extended it by functions to be able to also do rapid recording of the buildings, for example, the room structure, the floors, the rooms, everything, and also to map damages to this structure. The digital infrastructure is also adapted to movable heritage. So, for example, if we intervene to evacuate a museum collection, there we use another open source software that is called QFields, and we have also adapted it to use it on tablets and smartphones, and we have included predefined forms like templates to collect standardized data about the objects to be evacuated, their location, their state of conservation, these kind of things. And we also use the ID cards that you can see on the right to provide a unique identification number to each object that is assessed or evacuated. So the goal is that really we associate a card to each object or group of objects, and we can then gather through the QR code all the information about the original location, the treatment, like emergency first aid treatment that the object received, and also where it is stored after the evacuation. So the QR codes can be, they are modular and scalable. So sometimes if you have to evacuate, you can assign a QR code, for example, to all the objects in the room. And then once you are in the storage area, you can divide the QR codes, and it also works the other way around. Yes, this is where on the ID cards. And we have also developed this movable or mobile conservation lab to carry on really the first emergency stabilization measures for movable heritage. So this was partner LITSA. And it is a modular table system with different attachments. So there is one for wet cleaning of objects, for dry cleaning, for photo documentation, and for package. So here you have a few close-up of the stations. Here on top you can see the wet cleaning. The two on the right are the dry cleaning, and then you have the packaging station on the bottom left. So this lab is designed to be universal and to be used for paintings, for films, for archives, for natural history collections, not just for archaeological objects. And the station can be scaled up or down depending on the size of the objects and their quantity. And our equipment is designed to be easily assembled and dismantled, and they also fit in international like boxes that match international standards and can be air transported directly to the site of the disaster. So I'm going to finish by presenting you the first full-scale exercise that we carried out at the end of September. Brought like all those pieces together. So it took place in Brandenburg, so 2 hours north from Berlin, approximately. And in the scenario, it was supposed to be a foreign country, because once again, we are a unit that will be deployed abroad. So in our scenario, there was an earthquake followed by heavy rain, and the UCPM, so the Union Civil Protection Mechanism, was activated. First for a life-saving phase, and then for cultural heritage, and for a Renaissance castle and its collection that need to be evacuated. So in our storyline, we arrived on day 7 after the disaster for a duration of 3 days. And all of our volunteers arrived the day before the deployment to be briefed, and so that we could explain like how the exercise would unfold. So a perimeter was designed for the exercise. So it is what you see in red. And within this red perimeter, it was really a bubble. The participants were in the scenarios. That meant they were abroad. And there was no direct contact with the rest of the team. Here you can see a bit more clearly how we organized the space. So you had a base camp in yellow with tents and showers and places to eat, because really they were sleeping on site as if they were at a disaster site. Then in orange, you can see where our mobile laboratory was installed under tents. And in blue, it was the exercise control, which was really separated from the crew team. We had no contact or no direct contact. We were supposed to be in Germany while they were abroad. So the exercise brought together 40 people who were being trained, a mixed team of cultural heritage and civil protection experts, and we were about 60 people in the exercise control, so it's quite a big team altogether. So some were doing logistics, support, IT, role players, observers, trainers, because really the difference between an exercise and a training is that in an exercise, we had to let the volunteers make mistakes and learn from their mistakes, and role-playing was the only way for us to interact with the team during the scenario. So here you can see what they carried out. On the right, you have assessment for immovable heritage. On the top left, they had to also assess a fresco that was supposedly damaged. And on the bottom, you can see boxes of movable heritage. Here is also during the exercise, how to plan, coordinate. So the ones with the white helmets are the cultural heritage experts, and the yellow helmets are the civil protection experts. And here you can see objects being evacuated and ready to be transported to the lab for further treatment. And here you can see a view of our, we call it our street, conservation street, where we have our lab set up and where objects can be treated and then packaged. So this is the whole team. You can see, so the one with the yellow stripes are the civil protections and the other one the cultural heritage. So it was really a very mixed team. And I just want to finish by another milestone. We were also invited this year to participate in an exercise, a real full-scale exercise of the European civil protection. So it was a much bigger exercise targeted at floods and emergency hospitals, but there was a small part dedicated to cultural heritage, and we sent 9 people to Venice to take part in this exercise. So our experts had to assess 2 churches and the municipal archives, and also to evacuate artworks, which you can see here on the right, doing by boat, this being in Venice, which is always also a challenge. So this was also a real milestone for us to be part of this full-scale exercise with real protection, civil protection at the European level. To conclude, so the project is still running and we hope to be ready for deployment next year. So we will probably start with assessment missions before being able to do more. So far, we have developed standard operating procedures, a mobile lab, a team structure, and an IT backbone. And this year, we specially focused on developing our network of experts, our training, and the full-scale exercise. So for next year, the goal is really to apply the lessons learned from this exercise to all the other components, and in order to really improve them, and then to go, we hope, through the EU certification to be able to be included officially in the Union Civil Protection mechanism, and to achieve operational readiness to be deployed anywhere in the world when needed. So that's it for me. You have my contact information, and I would be happy to exchange if you have any questions. Thank you.
So I'd like to invite Stéphane and Takeyuki-san to come back and turn your cameras on so that we can have some Q&A together. So thank you again, everyone, for your presentations. It was wonderful to hear about all of the work that you're doing. And we have received several questions for all of you, and hopefully we can get through at least a couple for each of you. So Takeyuki, if we can start with you. The first question is, in Germany, saving people is first, saving animals is second, and saving objects is third as a priority for firefighters. So cultural heritage qualifies as objects. Is that the same in Japan, looking at the increased level of risk there?
Okay, so thank you so much for your very important question. And so, of course, the priority of the cultural heritage is not so higher than the human life, of course. But we always said that. So we, of course, we should save the people. Otherwise, we cannot save the culture and also the cultural heritage. So that it also can be our challenges, how to make a more better priority for the cultural heritage for future. So it's even in case of Japan, so it's almost the same on the road. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying. And Stéphane, we'll move on to a question for you. Who has received copies of the handling and collection priorities documents that you shared on the screen that are very thorough and very detailed? Who has access to those and where are they stored?
Actually, the Evelyn County is very in advance to elaborate such kind of plans. So we are working about it since more than 10 years. This is what you see only for one floor is only in the Evelyn County. This is free of access. If you are requesting us to use it, we'll check, of course, the document. We elaborate it for everybody. So we could check everything to the people who will ask it.
But just to clarify, so information that's included on those documents, if it has information about where particular objects or artifacts are located, that's not going to be accessible to the general public, correct?
No, absolutely not. In fact, those documents are never in firehouses. This is only on the site because this is the absolutely imperfect way of robbing. So this is a robber management to show you what is the priority of this. Where is it? Where it is, sorry. What is the most important and the most valuable, where it is, how to take it, how to carry it. So no, absolutely, of course not. The responsibility for such plans is the one of the curators, and the owner, because we have private owners also, or the owners of the collection. So we could help them, giving them the empty map, the empty plans. We could help them to elaborate the plans, but after they keep it on the site, on a secure place. And when we are joining the place, we know where we have to go to find the document. We are trying to find a new way. Perhaps we'll have it on a secured computer. And in case of fire, the central control room of the firefighters will check to the chief of operation the specific plans, but only after the beginning of the fire. So they will not have it on the site. They will not have it on the firefighter's house. They will have it only in case of trouble.
Thank you for clarifying. I just wanted to make sure that that was perfectly clear for everyone. Yeah. Thank you, Stéphane. Constance, a question for you. So sometimes the initial conversations of trying to get projects off the ground are the most challenging. So how did the initial conversations begin between cultural heritage professionals and the civil protection folks?
So I was not there at the really start of the project, but I think in Germany, so these talks have been going on in the different lenders of Germany since, there were several disasters. For example, the fire, or when the archives in Cologne, collapsed when they were building the subway, and we had also fire, several things. So at the local level, there have been discussions, and then at the federal level, it was really more taken up by a political will. So, because it's really, we are three ministries involved, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the German Archaeological Institute, the Ministry of Interior for the Federal Agency for Technical Relief, and the Ministry of Research for the Leibniz Center for Archaeology. So it was really a political will to get things moving, and we are funded so by the Foreign Affairs and the German Parliament. So it's still, it was really at the highest level. It was wished that things, get moving. So I guess we were lucky in a way.
I was just going to say, you are very fortunate. That is wonderful to hear that there's support from the top down as opposed from the bottom up, which is what we hear most often. But thank you for that. Thank you for talking through that. And Takeyuki-san, let me ask you another question. So you talked a little bit about and gave us very clear pictures about the challenges that you have, about the narrow access that you have to these various historic sites. Could you talk a little bit more about managing the movement when you're having to go and rescue items to protect your cultural heritage with this very real challenge of these tight areas that you have to navigate?
Okay, so thank you so much for such important questions. And of course, we also have this similar challenge problems. And especially in the case of Japan, so in Kyoto, so most of the historic street is very narrow, and it's pinched by the very old and wooden buildings. And so that we try to, what to say, so we don't have some special tools or special teams just for go inside, but in the case of Kyoto City, the city fire department people is very well trained to make a way in a very short times. And for the purposes, they have a kind of portable winch and some motorcycles to go in the narrow street to save the peoples and some cultural heritage. Because so in case of Kyoto City Fire Department, we have only a section for the cultural heritage. In Japan, we have no cultural heritage section in the fire department, but in Kyoto we have. So that they prepare for a kind of the kalte to how to. Sometimes it's written as how to dismantle the statue of Buddha or something like that. So that they can very easy to understand how to do it in an emergency situation, whether in a narrow street or, for example, in the case of the statue. So they at least they try to pick up the head, only the head. Head is very important. Then so they can at least they try to bring the head and hand. For save the such kind of the statue of Buddha. So like that. So they already understand how to operate it in an emergency situation. So like that. So I'm sorry. So this is the clear answer, but yeah, we have some such kind of the examples. So as that if you need more information, so please contact me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And hopefully other areas will be able to use that Kyoto program as a model to work with their firefighters.
Yeah, exactly. So we should think about how to expand this kind of the way of thinking for the whole of the Japan island and other countries. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Stéphane, we have another question for you. Who is part of the decision-making team for where and how the fire suppression systems and detectors are placed in these historic structures? I'm sure that it is a challenge because, some people feel that they're unsightly. Some historic structures have limitations about where things can be placed. But who's part of the decision-making team for those choices?
All the fire, in fact, this is not the responsibility of the firefighters. The firefighters are coming when a trouble is appearing. Everything for the buildings is a responsibility of the owners, and for the historical buildings in France, of what we call architectes des monuments historiques. This is a historical monuments architects. This is a very specific corporation under the state control, and they have the responsibility to protect all the historical buildings, and only them could accept everything. So some few societies, they could request help because they are not very at the top for the fire system. Of course, this is not the real heart of the job. But of course, at end, the architect will decide, not the firefighters.
No.
We could help them. We could suggest. Will not decide. Never.
But to be part of the discussion is important so that you can provide your expertise and advice.
Yes, because I'm an old man now. I'm 57, but I was a young student because I'm firefighters today, but I followed study to be a curator. So when I was a young student at the National School of Chartres, all the corporations were separated. You have curators, firefighters, security staff, safety staff. Nobody spoke to nobody. All the corporations were separated. Since around 10 years, with the social medias, internet, TV, everything, now the information is everywhere in the world in a few seconds. So now the people are more used to speak together, are more used to train together. That's very new for my teaching in the National School of Firefighters Officer for the cultural heritage protection. Now they have a special teaching for 4 hours, all promotion. That's very new. The national curators had also the same teaching for security. That's very new. So now the people are speaking together. The walls fall.
Excellent. Thank you. It's encouraging to hear, Stéphane. And we have time for one more question for you, Constance. Are mitigation practices or techniques taught as part of the training that you've been talking about?
So our unit is mostly designed for response. So in theory, we will arrive about 5 to 7 days after a disaster. So it's response, but it's not immediate response because we are within international disaster relief. And as was said before, human life is more important than cultural heritage. And so first, the focus is human life because we will only intervene for major disasters. When really a country is overwhelmed and can't respond by itself, then a country can ask for international disaster relief. So this is the context in which we will intervene. So in general, the human or the life-saving phase lasts for 5 to 7 days. And only then will we get on site because we don't want to be in the way of the first responders for human lives. So everything I had to do with mitigation or preparedness, prevention, we can't actually really do it because we will arrive after and sometimes, about a week after, which is still at the peak of the disaster, but not when it unfolds exactly. But then, so it's still a project, but we have in mind also to be able to offer capacity building trainings once our really response phase is over, also to really transfer knowledge and capacities to the local authorities and the local helpers on site. So there, the mitigation measures could maybe be included in the project, but this is more in the second phase. First, we're going to be deployed for the first times, and then see if we can move on to have those capacity building trainings. So this is the plan.
Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you all so much for sharing your time and answering these questions that everybody has been posing for you. We really appreciate you sharing all of your knowledge and your expertise with us. Thank you. But as we're closing out today, I just wanted to share a few thoughts, just kind of reflecting on today. One, I think that we're all extremely fortunate, and it gives me great calm in my heart to see how many people care about this topic and this subject. There are so many of us around the globe that are working on protecting our cultural heritage from all the disasters that sadly are becoming more and more frequent and much larger by the day, it seems. But it is extremely encouraging to see that there are so many folks around the world that care about this, that are working together. And this platform really gives us the opportunity to connect with each other, to share resources, to share lessons learned, because keeping this inside and not sharing it out with our neighbors, our colleagues, does no one any good. So sometimes those lessons learned are not comfortable to share, but it's much more valuable for ourselves and for our colleagues next door and around the world to hear these stories and to learn from them, because no one needs to reinvent the wheel. We can all learn from each other. And that was one theme that I heard today and on our other days as well, is about collaboration. You know, the importance of collaborating across specialties, because when we're training together, when we're learning together, when we're responding together, we're all learning through each other's lenses. Because I don't have a specialty in being a firefighter. I don't have a specialty in being an architect. So working with those folks, understanding what their priorities are, how they're seeing things through their perspectives and their expertise is so valuable to be able to bring to the table and put all of our thoughts and opinions together to have that holistic response for when things have occurred. Certainly getting things in place for mitigation and preparedness is vital. But when we're having to respond, to have all those folks at the table, to have all of them participating is really critical. And I mean, just for example, today, we have representatives from all over the world in our audience, but also from our presenters today, Germany, France, Japan, Guatemala, and the United States. How fortunate are we to have all these different perspectives and so many different people who are willing to share their time and expertise with us? We're extremely fortunate for that. And another thing I wanted to emphasize was the importance of documentation. And I think that's another theme that we've heard multiple times throughout the conference, but it's important to reinforce, because so often when disasters are occurring, our first instinct is to run in, to respond, to go take care of our collections. But we need to document along the way, because in the back end, and there's always a back end that takes a long time to get through, you need that documentation from the beginning to help your future self as you're going back and trying to recollect what was happening, when it was happening, who was responsible for what, so that we can have clear lines of communication for future disasters when we're responding to them. So I think all the different tools and resources that people have been sharing in the chat, in their presentations, hopefully you'll be able to take some of those back to your organizations and find them useful, repurpose them for what works for you. If you're in a historical society, if you're in a larger museum, if you're caring for a private collection, all of the things that have been shared so far are scalable for what you need to work on for your day-to-day. And I hope that you can take that from something from each of the presentations that you've heard so far. And I'd just like to finish up by saying, you know, I appreciate you sharing your time with us and hopefully continuing to share your expertise as we continue on our final day tomorrow. So we look forward to you joining us again tomorrow. Thank you again, Constance, for being here. And thank you for sharing all of your knowledge and expertise with us. And we look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow. Thank you so much.